Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast. I'm your host, Sharlene Lynch, and together we're shining a light on hope, resilience, and transformation in the journey to end domestic violence. Each week, we bring you inspiring interviews with changemakers, survivors, advocates, and experts who are making a difference in the lives of those affected by domestic and family violence. Whether you're on a healing journey yourself or supporting someone who is, this is the space for powerful stories, practical tools, and heartfelt inspiration. Let's heal through love. I'm excited to introduce to you today our amazing guest. We have with us today Jo Cooper. She is a fearless advocate, speaker, and impact leader whose landmark legal victory in Cooper versus the owners of Strata Plan No. 58068 commended her in the place of the top 10 influential court cases of the 21st century. As the founder and CEO of Good Warrior, Jo is dedicated to transforming bystander culture and challenging systematic abuse, bullying, and domestic violence. Now combining her passion for advocacy and with her artistry, Jo uses storytelling and music to inspire individuals, corporations, and communities to turn silence into action. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm magnificently magnificent. It's great to have you in this space. Now, some of our listeners might not be aware of, let's talk about Clare's Law, and let's talk about how it got there and the impact that people can make.
Okay, so start with Clare's Law. That's my current petition. It basically how things are in the space of domestic violence. I personally don't feel that victim survivors have a lot of power. And Clare's Law isn't a be-all and end-all solution, but it would be a tool as part of a broader solution. And it gives people the right to know if their partner or potential partner has a history of violence. And for me, I think that's a step in the right direction. I hear a lot about privacy, and I don't understand why we continuously have this high concern about perpetrators' privacy when victims are the ones who are suffering. So we've got 1 month left. We need 20,000 signatures. And I just really want to emphasize, because there's a lot of stakeholders that are concerned about Clare's Law. And I understand the worry and, it's not bulletproof, so to speak. But if you look at domestic violence today versus 20 years ago, we're still in a crisis. And we have to do something. And as far as I'm concerned, people have the power to make change. We can't sit back and wait for the government to do it for us.
So how can our listeners today pay it forward and make a difference and sign the petition?
So if you go to my LinkedIn, there is a link to the petition. I can also share the petition with you or however you reach your listeners. It takes 2 minutes. It's your name, first name, last name, email address, New South Wales resident, sign.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing, Jo.
Thank
If you're
you.
listening today and you are a survivor of family and or domestic violence, you've got an understanding of what it would have been like for you to have a heads up as to what you were walking into. Okay, so granted, let's imagine now we're talking about your daughters, your sons, your children. What if they live in an environment where they can find out this information. And then knowing that, they can make an informed decision of how to move forward. So this is where Clare's Law is going. It's, maybe not for us, the ones that have survived and out the other side and spruiking how, we did good. We're okay. This is for the younger generation who are yet to go through the minefield, and having this will really make a difference. So if you've got a heart for change, then please reach out. We'll make sure that the link is in the show notes and the show description so that you can click the button. Literally is a click of the button, and we're only looking for another 20,000. Okay, let's dial the time clock back a little bit and have a look at, why did you choose this? How did you get here? And what's the story behind that?
I feel like I didn't choose it, to be honest. My first relationship ended up really badly. It ended up with me in a hospital bed, and I didn't know the word back then, bystander culture. I didn't understand it, but I knew what it looked like. So when I was on the street after my then partner pushed me out of a vehicle, people were just staring at me. And I remember thinking, if that was me and I saw somebody in that situation, I am naturally very reactive, and that's not always, just disclaimer, it's not always the best thing to do. Check the environment first. However, what went through my mind at that moment was I would have definitely run up to see if that person was okay, ask if I could make a phone call or something. There was nothing, just staring at me. And so that was my introduction to bystander culture. And since that time, it was never a full-time job, but I've always advocated and tried to educate around violence, bullying, what it looks like. For me, there's a huge piece missing between the education of disrespect that leads to bullying that sometimes leads to violence, and violence that sometimes leads to tragedy. And the way we work, as in the system, I shouldn't say we, because I try to think that I don't work in this space. We live in this crisis model, and it's not getting us anywhere. I mean, how many times do you hear about domestic violence? Every week, every month, and the headlines are always the same. And what you'll find is somebody always knew. Somebody always knew something was going wrong. Unfortunately, I don't believe that the police are educated enough in their response to violence or bullying or disrespect, because, you'll hear them say, okay, thanks, here's your number. Come back to us when something else happens. Well, how many times can you go to the police and that's the response? So there needs to be an education around pattern of behavior. That's where it started. And oh God, 10 years ago now. So in 2015, I moved into what I now call home, believe it or not. And I was faced with asking a question, and this simple question attracted extreme forms of bullying, abuse, both physical and verbal violence, and nothing has ever come from it. No charges, no investigation. The response is the same, if not worse, because I feel like we have a lot of history in this space that the response should have been better. And that led me to a 5.5-year legal case, plus another year lobbying government to legislate my court outcome. So I know this sounds really complicated, but I don't want to go into that detail as much. The summary of it was, I asked a question about a bylaw. I was told not to mess with the bylaw. I messed with the bylaw, as in I put in a motion to change the bylaw. And that was all it took to have 40 or 50 people come after me relentlessly. And again, people knew what was going on. People saw me at meetings, having things, flicked at me, derogatory name calling. I was called a stupid little brown girl at some point, low class at another point, and lots of other words. And nobody did a thing. So that led me back to this bystander culture. And I thought, there's some good people who'd rather remain silent than actually step up and say, this is not okay. And that's where the Good Warrior was born. And it's sort of become a full-time thing. And yeah, that's how it's come about. I really have a detest for bullies and people who harm others for no good reason. But I have a bit of an issue with those who claim to have values and standards in certain circumstances. You know, individuals have a lot of power. And I feel like some of us have lost that belief that we may be one voice, but we can make a lot of difference with that voice. So that's where we are today.
Oh, okay. So what's next for you?
Well, I've written a book. I've just finished that this week, actually, about the whole story, which is why I didn't really want to bore you with the details. But I hope to release that at the end of the year. I continue with my keynotes and my workshops to educate people, to pick up the signs of what disrespect looks like. I'm not talking about one incident. I'm talking about a repeated pattern that it more than likely does lead to bullying. And my biggest fear is that bullying turns into violent and beyond. And so I will continue with that. I will continue to call for legislative change and change of policy. And I think a lot of people don't know that you can email politicians, you can challenge government. And I feel like it's a duty that we have. But a lot of people, I don't know if it's a fear, lack of knowledge. I think it's a bit of both.
But
But
maybe
don't
apathy as well. Like they just don't care.
Absolutely apathy. Yeah. Ultimately, apathy is a real problem. I just don't want to go out there and criticize everyone for being silent because I don't believe that everybody has the tools and understanding of how to step in when they do see an injustice play out. So I want to be very mindful of that. Apathy, absolutely not a question in my mind. I've seen it. And the excuses are quite disappointing. I don't want to get involved because I don't really want to be marked. I don't want to get involved because of my career. I might have a relationship with this person. Sure, I know what they're doing wrong. However, they could benefit me in the future. All those excuses for me are unacceptable. If you're okay with watching somebody on the receiving end of abuse that can actually ruin their lives because of a financial gain or a relationship, I think you really need to look in the mirror, to be honest with you. Because it's just as simple as saying, pulling that person aside and saying, did you really think what you just did or what you said, did you think that was really appropriate? And calling them out then and there, it's a powerful thing. Because if you don't call them out, that person's thinking, oh, okay, green light. I can do what I like. Nobody's going to question me. Nobody's going to hold me accountable. And it just grows from there. So, I mean, have you been on the receiving end of bullying?
Not in the new iteration of me.
Okay.
I vibrated a frequency that would frustrate anyone who was intent on bullying me. They
Yeah.
just would water off a duck's back. It just doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
But the old version of me, the version of me that was a victim and a survivor of domestic and family violence, then yeah, sure, I was in the middle of it. But when I changed me, I'm bulletproof now, regardless of what's happening. So, yes, I think 100% that when we see things, and I've got no filter system, I'm continuously saying things that maybe should not be said, but I say them anyway. And I am a right fighter and I do stand up for the oppressed. Hey, that's why we're running Healing Through Love. Yes, and I also see what part I played in the story and how I was attached to drama, and I see the part that I played in that. So now out the other side, I view things very differently. However, I still really want to make a difference for those who don't have a voice for themselves and who haven't seen that they can make change happen. So 100% I'm behind everything that you do in and around Clare's Law. I believe that we've done all that we've signed, we've passed it around, we've put it on our email list, like we've done all the things that we can do from where we are as a podcast and a social enterprise in making an impact for family and domestic violence. And yeah, you're right. We do have a culture in Australia that really is, it's not my business. And so they don't stick their nose in. And if they did see that they could make a difference, then that would be important. I also believe it's important to know who you're literally jumping into bed with. It would be handy to know,
Yeah.
if there is an issue there. Yes, and I've also seen it down the other way around as well. So people in my proximity have been incorrectly accused. So they're not firsthand, they're people that I know of people. And so I suppose from their perspective, I could see how that would be uncomfortable, especially for those that have actually gone to jail for a crime that they didn't commit because of the way the system's set up. So I can see
Yeah.
why it's a very fine line.
Agree.
Yes, and we have to do something. So this is something we can do.
And that has come up multiple times, and I understand that. And there has to be frameworks, there has to be governance, there has to be, you can't just go and accuse somebody and expect them to be on a register. I actually had somebody ask me, what about people who haven't been convicted? And I said, what's your point? And they said, well, I would like to see them on the register. And I said, absolutely not. You, we live in a country where there are laws. Sure, the justice system isn't, it doesn't get it always right. But if we start thinking down that path, that's a very dangerous road to take. And like I said earlier, this isn't a standalone solution. However, we have to start coming up with different root cause solutions rather than remaining in this crisis. And there was a comment you said earlier about attracting drama, and I just want to really clarify something there, because a lot of people who are on the receiving end of bullying or abuse don't want to say anything because they don't want to feel their life is just dramatic. That is a different type of scenario altogether. I am not talking about that. I am talking about real life changing abuse that is relentless and impacts people's lives on a daily basis. That is what I'm talking about. So if you've been bullied or abused, please don't think you just attract drama for no reason, because there are unkind people out there that for some reason get a lot of joy out of seeing people suffer. That's what I'm talking about. Love that you reinvented yourself. I'm not talking about those people. My focus is trying to give people back their power and their confidence when somebody has gone out of their way to destroy them. That's my focus.
I love it. I love it. We could talk all day. I'm excited about what the difference that you make and the impact that you've already made, and that the book will make as well. And that our audience that are listening today can go forth and sign the petition. So what's the cutoff date for that? And I know that this might be airing a little bit different timeline, but what's the cutoff time?
I think it's the 29th of this month of April. So less than a month to go.
Okay, so yes, if you're listening to this before the 29th of April, follow the links and absolutely, it's just literally a press of a button, and that's going to change the laws so that people will have the opportunity to know the people that in their proximity, are they perpetrators?
Yeah. And it doesn't, it at least gives you the opportunity to have the conversation or not. It's just having that knowledge. And not everybody's going to get the answers. There might not be somebody who's been convicted, but they're in the process. I understand that. I just don't think if, the mentality of, well, if 10 people can't find out, then we shouldn't save one person. I think that's the wrong way to look at it.
Mm.
And yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that.
It's a powerful conversation, and it is a conversation that needs to be had. These are the conversations we need to have, and that's why Healing Through Love is here. If you're
Yeah,
listening today and you are a survivor of family and or domestic violence, reach out to Healing Through Love. We have these amazing pamper days, think day spa on steroids, where survivors come and for free, they receive their hair, their makeup done. They might have a massage, a foot massage, chakras aligned. Like, the list is huge. We have 25 practitioners at each of our events, and it is free for survivors. So we'd love to have you come along. Reach out to Healing Through Love, and we'll give you the dates of events that are near you. As of 2023, Healing Through Love went global, and we're very excited to have the conversation that if you are a practitioner and you're here listening to this today, reach out to Healing Through Love. We'd love to have a conversation with you about joining one of our events near you or actually being an organizer. So have a chat to us if you've got a heart for change. Now, back to you, Joe. I'd love you to finish off with us today and just share with us your final words of wisdom.
Yeah, not everybody's going to lead change. I absolutely understand that for various reasons. I do feel that we all have a role to play, though. So if you don't have the stomach for it, the personality, the time, whatever the reason may be that you can't lead change, you do have a role in supporting people that are. So for, the people that come up with all these excuses, I'm one person, I can't do it, all those reasons, sure, not a problem. But it doesn't take much to support those who are leading the change, because the reality is you will probably benefit from it, and so will the next generation. And that's the message I hope people get.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Joe. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to share this cuppa with you and have beautiful conversations. And if you're listening to this and it's before the 29th of April 2025, click the link. A simple click of the link will actually allow you to just drop in your suburb and your name, and then that is a vote for change. Thank you for joining us today. It's a goodbye from us.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.